All right, we're going to continue today with our discussion of invertebrates. So yesterday we talked about porifera, and then we also talked about cnidarians. And today, with regard to cnidarians, we're going to talk about a little more specifically the characteristics of those. What you need to do is open your books up to page, let's start with 619. What are the characteristics? What are the characteristics that many cnidarians have that porifera did not have? Page 619. 619. What are the characteristics that cnidarians had that most sponges didn't have? Corby?
Two germ layers.
Say it again.
Two germ layers.
They have two germ layers. What else?
And radial symmetry.
Radial symmetry. Probably the one that's more meaningful to us, although you're right with the two germ layers. The one that's probably more meaningful to us would be the fact that they've got radial symmetry. What were the... Yes, Drayton.
So you're recording this right now for the students?
Yes. I already said that, but thanks for asking. Anyway, he just wanted to get his... Guys, Drayton just wanted to get his name on here. So anyway, so what are the classes of cnidarians that we've talked about so far? Classes of cnidarians that we've talked about. Landon? You have them in your notes. No, classes of them. Well, we've talked about anthozoans, class Anthozoa, right? And those included sea anemones and corals. And then also class Scyphozoa. And we said that Scyphozoans, like jellyfish, have a conspicuous medusa stage. And you should know, what does a polyp stage look like if we were representing it with our hand? Right? Polyp, everybody? Polyps turned up like this. And more often the polyp stage is going to have what kind of a lifestyle? Bella? Sessile, that's right. And then we have a medusa stage, and that's what we think about with like a jellyfish, right? It moves like that. So what's the body plan? Nathan, what's the body plan of cnidarians? Compared to us, we're a tube within a tube. What are cnidarians? Angel? Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Say it again. Sac body plan, which means they have... What does a sac body plan mean? Samuel? They have one body opening. Okay. What did the word conspicuous mean? We say it as a conspicuous medusa stage. Ashley? Obvious, right? An overt phase that looks like that. Then we have Portuguese man-o-war. What does one of the polyps do? Does it say here, Sam? What does one of the polyps do that keeps that allows the man-o-war to stay toward the top of the water? Third bullet there. Next one. Sorry. Becomes a gas-filled float. And you should be looking at page 622, picture D. That's a Portuguese man-o-war. Put your finger on that right now. Turn to that page, 622, picture D, Portuguese man-o-war. Okay, we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about hydras. And hydras are shown on page 623. Freshwater cnidarian, tubular polyp. Again, that's the upright kind with a sac body plan, the outer layer of which is the epidermis. Go ahead, Corby. Hydra. says hydra. It just says figure 30.5. Yeah. The outer layer is the epidermis, which is derived from the ectoderm, meaning the outer layer, outer tissue layer. And the inner layer is the gastrodermis. And going back to what Corby said when we started the discussion of cnidarians, he pointed out that they have two germ layers. So that's what we mean by the two germ layers. They have the outer ectoderm, epidermis, inner gastroderm, endodermis. Okay, then they have a mesoglia. It's a jelly-like middle layer that separates the two of them. So you should be looking at this picture in your book. Okay, so this is showing a hydra, and it shows the different layers and the mesoglia and all that stuff. Okay, it's on page 623. Does everybody have that? What does gastro refer to, by the way, this prefix gastro? Angel? Say it again. Not circulatory. Try again. You're on the right track, though. It's a system. Gastro refers to Ashley? Digestive. So your stomach, Angel. It's your stomach. It's talking about stomach. Gastro is stomach. Okay? Now, the last things about cnidarians are that they have directional movement of body and tentacles. Directional movement of body and tentacles. So what does that hint at? You remember when we said if things move directionally, it tells us they may have the beginnings of what process? Meaning concentration of things at a head end. Jackson? What that word is? Cephalization. Cephalization. Now, interestingly, here, it talks about hydra having what's called a gastrovascular cavity. So it does both what we said gastro, which is digestion, and also what Angel just said, which is vascular, or she had said circulation. So gastrovascular means it carries on digestion and circulation. Gastro is digestive, vascular is circulatory. There is no medusa. The polyp is capable of both sexual and asexual reproduction. This is talking now again just about the hydra. And I would encourage you again to identify that in your book where we have that picture of the hydra, and you can see where it shows the gastrovascular cavity. Okay, so right in this middle portion. So not only is that moving stuff around, it's also where things are being broken down as well. Gastrovascular cavity. We're going to take a look at video about that. Do we have that, guys? Move on to the video. All right.
I'd like to talk about the phylum Cnidarians. Cnidarians are invertebrates that are famous for stinging cells and probably the most famous cnidarian, the jellyfish.
Okay, so first of all, what are they named for? What are cnidarians named for? What characteristic of cnidarians gives them their name? Landon?
Specialized stinging cells.
The stinging cells. That's exactly right. He just pointed that out, but the stinging cells. Okay, so you can see there it's got a hold of some prey with those cnidocytes.
Cnidarians are famous for their sting. However, some do have a sting in which they inject venom, and others entangle their prey with sticky hairs or tentacles. Here's what a harpoon would look like from a cnidarian with a stinging cell. There are two main types of cnidarians. The medusa have their tentacles hanging down. Let's take a look.
Now, he said main types. Probably better term to be main forms, right? Because there are many types, there are many classes of them. But these are the two forms that they take, the medusa and the polyp.
Look at a medusa. In which the tentacles are facing upward. The sea anemone is the most famous here.
So a sea anemone has what form? Jackson? Polyp.
Cnidarians move by jet propulsion inside their bell. And what happens is that it allows them to propel themselves forward. Not real fast, but it works. Sea anemones can move also. They move very slowly over the rocks, or they may move with a wiggle with their base. Take a look at this example. Cnidarians do not have a central nervous system, but they do have a very crude nervous system, or a nervous net. Cnidarian
He referred to it as a nerve net. So not a complex system, but a nerve net. Guys, please pay attention. You'll have time to work on your study guide, but right now you need to pay attention to this.
Cnidarians can reproduce both sexually and asexually. And with asexual reproduction, they bud or they divide into a new organism. Here's an example of one life cycle. There are your cnidarians, the stinging or sticky animals. They sometimes run your visit to the beach. And thanks for watching. Moo Math uploads a new math or science video every day. Please.
All right. So it's just kind of an overview of cnidarians. Okay. The next group, and some of these, now cnidarians we had a little more information on. Flatworms are the next progression. So I want you to flip back to page 619 and tell me what's the next progression what's the next thing that flatworms or platyhelminthes have that cnidarians did not have? Sophia? Well, there's acoelomates. That means they don't have a true body cavity. But what causes the branch? What? Right, bilateral symmetry. So they have equal halves. So this is flatworms or phylum Platyhelminthes. bilateral symmetry, and they do now have a third germ layer, and the middle one of which, so we had an endoderm on the inside, an ectoderm on the outside, and a meso or middle derm layer in between. And that gives bulk and complexity. And as we predicted earlier, bilateral symmetry also hints at having a head end. And so we see that there is cephalization at this point also. Additionally, as Sophia said, they are acoelomates. That means they don't have a true body cavity, but they do have muscular systems, excretory systems, reproductive systems, and digestive. But they don't have respiratory and circulatory. So you should be on page 624 now, 624. And we're going to talk about a number of different types of flatworms. It shows particularly the kind of anatomy of a planarian on page 624. While you're finishing those notes, I'll just read you the introductory passage from your book. Like all the other animal phyla, they have 3 germ layers from here out, meaning going from here forward. However, the flatworms have no coelom. The presence of mesoderm adds bulk, as we wrote here. Free-living flatworms have muscles, excretory, reproductive, digestive, but no respiratory, circulatory. Because the body is flat and thin, diffusion is what allows movement of things in and out of the cells. So that's why they have to be flat, guys. Eyes here. Eyes here. The reason that something can't be really bulky and wide is if there's no circulation, the only way stuff is getting in and out is by diffusion. It's got to touch whatever has to move into it. It can't be channeled through vessels. There's no vascularization. Okay, the first class of flatworms we're going to talk about is class Turbularia. And that includes planarians, as are shown on page 624. So you should be looking at this page. These are planarians, and planarians are in the class Turbularia. Small, free-living, freshwater organisms. They use a muscular pharynx to suck food into a 3-branched gastrovascular cavity. Incomplete digestive tract. Means it doesn't go end to end. If we were to look back on page 619 again, we would see on here that the split between, get it marked right here, between planarians or platyhelminthes and nematodes, the split that occurs has to do with has to do with having a pseudocoelom, or at least the beginnings of a body cavity. And you see that number four on that chart, the number 4 evolutionary advancement is a tube within a tube. So nematodes or roundworms have a tube within a tube, but flatworms still only have one body opening, so they don't have a complete digestive system. The other thing that I want you to be aware of is that, as it says here, the pharynx, for us, if you put your hands on your throat, guys, look here. Look here. Put your hands on your throat and then swallow. You feel that? How it moves up when you swallow? If you didn't, do it again. Put your hands clear up here under your chin, not on your Adam's apple, it's above that, and swallow. And you can feel that muscle. That's your swallowing muscle. That's called the pharynx. You have to hold it like this. That's your pharynx, the swallowing muscle. Well, what it's telling us and showing us in this diagram right here is in a flatworm, in a planarian like this, that muscle actually extends outside the body. So the food doesn't go into a mouth and then get swallowed. The muscle that does the swallowing or sucking in of food is actually exterior. In addition, the nervous system exhibits cephalization, which we've said several times means concentration of nerve tissue in a head end, a brain, eye spots. What's the difference in an eye and an eye spot, do you suppose? Anybody have any idea what the difference in an eye and an eye spot might be? Are we too busy writing, or do you not know the answer? What's the difference in an eye and an eye spot? Bella, what do you think?
So like we can see out of our eye, but eye spots like only sense light.
That's exactly it. So those eye spots are light sensitive. Again, indicative of a head end. Depending on what they're doing, moving toward the top of the water, they would be able to sense what's the top based on where there's light. What's swimming down based on the dark in water. So those are eye spots. And if you look at that picture again on page 624, they have kind of a triangular shaped head. And that's what they're talking about with the auricle. And chemosensitive organs located on the auricles. So they can sense the chemicals that are around them. And, you might say to some extent that's a precursor to our olfactory sense or our sense of smell. They can sense what chemicals are around them. These worms are also hermaphroditic. What does the term hermaphroditic mean? Nathan, what does hermaphroditic mean? Okay. So they have both types of sex organs. Now, that does not mean that, so it says they reproduce sexually, but they have both types of organs. So I'll read you that passage. It says that planarians are hermaphrodites, meaning they have both, but the worms practice cross-fertilization, meaning that there's an exchange of genetic material from one to the other. So it's not like flower parts where they're self-fertilizing. They have both, just like a flower, they have a male and a female part, but they're not self-fertilizing, they're cross-fertilizing. Okay, so that's Turbellaria. What's the next class there, guys, of flatworms? Landon, what's the next one there? We look at planarians. Planarians were turbellaria. What's the next one it talks about? Say it again. Right, parasitic, but what are the classes called? Cestota and right. And Landon already said what the difference in lifestyle is of these. These are parasitic. It said that planarians are free living. They're not attached to something else, or they're not inside something else. But now you may have even heard of this. There are fantastic stories of tapeworms and humans who've been affected or infected with tapeworms, and how the tapeworms can be really huge and all that kind of thing. And they really do rob from the nutrition going to the host. Not probably all that common in humans. Certainly not in places where there's opportunities to have better hygiene. There's and cleaner food supply is probably the bigger issue. A cleaner, safer food supply that's brought about by handling food with things that are sterilized, and food not sitting out, and all those kinds of things, and food being properly cooked. All of those things cut down on the number of parasitic worms that would affect a population. So the adult worms are intestinal parasites of vertebrates. So that could be us, right? We have intestines and we're vertebrates, so that could certainly include us. The organ systems are similar to free-living flatworms, except they have no digestive tract. Why would a parasitic flatworm not have to have a digestive tract? Ashley? Because the host is doing the work for them. That's right, Ashley. It's already been broken down by the work of the host digestive tract, and so they don't have to have the ability to break those things down. Now, if you look at the close-up, I'll give you a minute to finish writing your notes because it's important that you look at this picture. I think it's very telling. Page 625. Shows the life cycle of a tapeworm. This tinea tapeworm that's shown on page 625. I want you to be looking at this picture, guys. Look at this picture in your book. Okay, 625, lower right of 625. Look at that picture. That thing, it looks like something that you use to clean out pipes with. It has these little hooks. Why would it be important for them to have those hooks on what's effectively their head? Trayton?
Otherwise, they just get washed out of the
That's right. They just get passed right through the digestive tract. They would only be able to survive in the host until the host went to the bathroom, and then they'd be gone. Right? So they have to hook on to stay in the digestive tract. And so it has these suckers. As you can see in that picture, it has those suckers, and then it has hooks to anchor itself. And then it also has proglottids. And the proglottids are these little segments right here. Okay? These little segments right here are proglottids. And those proglottids are reproductive units with male and female sex organs. So again, they're hermaphroditic. Go ahead, Corby.
How does someone even get tapeworm?
Well, that's what it's saying. So look, it's showing you that in this cycle. So it may be from improperly cooked pork, and then you eat it. It was in the muscle. It was in the muscle of this pig. Then you ate some pork, and that wasn't properly cooked, and then you end up ingesting it, and it ends up in your digestive tract. And we're not going to get too much into that life cycle, but just understand those are the kinds of things that probably all of you have heard, make sure that things are cooked properly and at the right temperature and for the right amount of time. Are you still going to eat a tapeworm? Anybody? Nathan? But it's dead. That doesn't seem all that pleasant, but it's not going to infect you. Go ahead.
Are they gonna take them from like piggy? If you bit the little dude?
Oh no, you wouldn't. No, you would. You wouldn't perceive it at all. It'd be tiny. You might even. Let's see if it gives us any of that. They vary in size. Now this is adults, but they could be just a few millimeters. But it may not even be the adult form. You may be ingesting something more like a larva. Okay, so probably very, very small. So proglottids, and then if those proglottids are full of eggs, they're called a gravid. A gravid is an egg-filled proglottid that is released in the feces of the host. So that's how it can get passed along. So that's what it's showing here. So something has a tapeworm, and then that person with the tapeworm keeps the tapeworm, but these gravids, these egg-filled gravids, are in their excrement, and then something else can eat those, and so it gets passed on in that way. And here's the answer to what you were saying, I think, actually, Trayton. It says the human host contains the adult. The pig in their ham, in the meat, in this case, contains a larva or bladder worm. I'll see if I can find for you how large that bladder worm larva might be. Okay, so this is talking about the article that I found here is actually talking about those being in like a dog, the adults. Let's see. The definitive host, often a dog, and the intermediate host, which would be like the sheep or goats or cattle or pigs or whatever, and those bladder worms, which is how they exist in what they're calling the intermediate host. I don't know if it says. Let's see. The tapeworm can be up to 3 meters long, like 10 feet long. Okay, that's the tapeworm. That's the adult part. Now, this is saying that you could have a cyst of those worms in the intermediate host that could be fairly large. I don't know if it says here how big. I don't think it says in that article how big the larva is. Go ahead.
Wasn't there a thing like way back when people they would take a pill with a tapeworm as like a diet?
There could have been. I mean, you hear about stuff like that, or you hear people refer to kids your age like they're eating like they have a tapeworm. Now, I don't know if medicinally, if anybody intentionally, probably, as crazy as that sounds, there probably have been people that have intentionally ingested something like that. The problem is it's robbing nutrients. It's not just the volume of nutrients, but the type of nutrients that it would be robbing would make it dangerous. Okay, this is the last screen we'll get to today. So these are trematodes, which are flukes. These are endoparasites also. They have a flattened oval body and attached by way of a sucker. They're named for the organ that they inhabit. So a fluke that's in your lungs is a lung fluke, and a liver fluke, and a blood fluke. Blood fluke called schistosoma causes schistosomiasis. The liver fluke can cause cirrhosis, which is very damaging to your liver. Cirrhosis can be caused by other things as well. Let me see if I can find something about schistosomiasis here, which is a blood condition, also known as snail fever, and bilharzia is a disease caused by schistosomes. Urinary tract or the intestines may be infected. Symptoms include abdominal pain, diarrhea, blood in the stool, blood in the urine. They may experience liver damage, kidney failure. Children, it can cause inhibited growth and learning difficulties. Let's see. Disease is spread by contact through parasites that are found in water supplies. So again, it kind of points out the importance in places where people don't have a clean water supply, how important it is for the health of people, in particular the health of children in those areas. And that's why a lot of social service agencies, particularly like Catholic Relief Services and things like that, do a lot with putting in wells for people that don't have clean drinking water, because it's really there's very few medical services in a lot of those areas, and then you compound that by the fact that people are infected with disease because they don't have clean water, makes it a really difficult situation. So anyway, we're not going to watch the video of that today. What you need to do for Monday, then, guys, let me get you the right. Oops, that's not the right thing. Huh. Let me get you the right thing here. You need to answer for Monday. You should have answered through number 59. 59 through 59 for Monday. Have a good weekend.